Hey everybody, Jack Acid with ApexHead.com bringing you an Escape Zero with Commentary episode. And today we're going to be looking at the 2011 Tesla Roadster Sport, which some of you may know is an electric car. And I've never touched it on this game and thought, how weird can it be? So you can see it's suggesting that I upgrade. I'm going to go ahead and skip that, and because I am going to keep it on medium AI. So it should be a reasonable challenge. And I did forget to check the starting grid on this before we started, but I know that I'm running a CPI ranking of as an A505, and I believe that I'm up against A600 cars, so that's usually kind of a nice little added challenge in medium. I sometimes race on hard. It depends on the car and the track and what I'm comfortable with, but I do like to get through the events, so I only push myself on hard once in a while, but mostly keep it in the medium AI range, and usually don't upgrade when I'm prompted to. So here we are in turn 1, and you can see that actually there's no shifting with this car. It's one gear, and so I keep tapping the button out of habit, but it's not doing me any good, of course. And so now gliding up and around here, you can see that the yellow cars in front of me look like they've already been in a bit of a tangle. A lot of paint missing from the car just up here. And glide around here, some serious drift, going to try and get through. And this is going to be ugly. There's no room here at all. A little bit of bumping going on, but nothing too serious. And now accelerating through and see what kind of acceleration I have. Listen to the engine on this. Just almost like a spooky whistle. Very, very weird driving it. It's kind of hard to tell how fast you're going or anything because you're not shifting and you can't hear the engine real well. Also noticing it's very, very touchy on any kind of gas around the corners here, and Nurburgring has a few of these pretty significant hairpins, and so not really sure how to take it. I'm so used to downshifting and just kind of drift around there, and not too bad. So staying up with the 1 through 3 cars. 5 laps doesn't seem like it's that long, but probably a pretty long race. This is probably a 10 to 12 minute race. AI very slow up through here. Usually you can take that flat out, depending on the angle that you take coming around that bend there, but of course the AI is going to have slow points everywhere. And so now, because I'm just still learning the car in these corners, it's hard to tell where I'll be able to have an advantage, but it looks like I should be able to make up some ground through here. And again, I can't get enough of just listening to this thing get warmed up, especially when it gets up around that 90 miles an hour. You can just kind of hear it. Almost sounds like a spaceship. I like it. It's super cool. Alright, coming up to the last chicane here before the end of the lap. And going to be a little conservative, and you can see the leader, the Ferrari, just flew way off track into the sand. And able to, here he comes, of course, and now it's going to be a race between the yellow car, which I believe is a Corvette, and there's a pretty beat-up white car. I think that's a Mercedes, but I'm not 100% sure. He looks pretty beat up. He's got all kinds of paint torn off. And here comes the Ferrari and the Mercedes. And I better call it the white car just in case it's not a Mercedes. I haven't gotten a really good look at it, but I can't compete with either of them down the main straight here, so it looks like this is going to be a 4-pony race if the pace that we're seeing now is any indication. So in one lap we've learned that I'm going to have the advantages in the corners, which is pretty typical for any Forza race really, but the AI has got the advantages in the straights, and I do not want to be trailing any of these cars heading down the towards the finish line at the very, very end. So we got a ways to go here, so not too much of a worry now, but their pace is definitely very strong in the straights, and let's see what they look like here. You can see the yellow car, P1, just absolutely taking off. Now the P3 car's making a move, and he overtakes me for just a half a second and thinks better of it. And now I'm going to see if I can take this close to flat out. Not quite. Still pretty squirrely. Now having a look at the Corvette on the outside, and drift around, and not going to be able to make a move there, but at least kind of getting a sense for the edges of this car. And of course letting him know that I will overtake him, at least if I can get close enough. You can see that, well, now he's going to be an idiot and drive into the wall, and I don't know how many times we've seen that. I don't know how many times I've been caught out chasing the leader or chasing the car in front of me and just follow him right into the wall because I'm putting way too much faith into his ability to keep it on track. And now just listen to the engine on this thing. And like I said, around here is where it gets that little whistle. and you can just, it sounds like the wind going through it. It's really cool. I really am enjoying racing with this, even though I'm not totally comfortable with it on the corners yet. And you can see I'm just trying to learn how to get around these corners as quick as possible, and now showing a very good pace over the AI. But I'm not going to get comfortable here because, again, my car is not upgraded, and it's significantly less. They are all A-class, so that's at least good, but I'm a very low A-class car, and they've got advantages over me on the straightaways by a pretty significant amount. And you can see up just through that last chicane that they are making up a little bit of ground, drifting around the last hairpin, coming down the main straight. And let's see if we can keep ahead here. This is where I'm the most worried about the AI. And heading into lap 3, and yes, they are definitely gaining ground. But if I've got this kind of a lead heading into the last turn, I should be fine. But a little too early to worry about that. Right now we got to worry about turn 1, one of the hardest turns in any circuit, especially in Formula 1. I have a really hard time with that when I'm playing F1 2011. It's a little bit better in a Forza car, but when you don't know the car that well, and when you can't actually shift and just sort of relying on speed and angles and judging your apexes right, which you can see I do wrong here, and a little squirrely coming out, and that's going to allow the P2 car, the white car, coming up on the outside, and it looks like he's going to get around me. Now let's see if I can get around him here and able to drift up right behind him. I have a look on the inside, but don't want to get too aggressive. Almost collide with him. And this is where I was challenging the Corvette on the lap before, and this time able to get around the P2 car back up into P1. And it's become evident now that I can't allow myself to make any mistakes because the AI is so quick to overtake, and you can see brake very, very hard here into the hairpin. And the Ferrari's going to have a look on the inside, but now you can see him in the rearview mirror. He is falls significantly back. So Ferrari does not have the pace around the corners, but look at this, coming up around into this little sweep corner. He's going to have a look on the outside of me here, and you can see that I get pretty conservative and try and give him room. And here he comes again, and going to get up around me, heading into turn 6. And should be able to glide around him here as long as I'm not going too fast. So. But now still challenging on the outside and almost make contact, and I hit the curb and falls back yet again. So the Ferrari giving me a really hard time, and I got a feeling he's going to give me a hard time here. Yes, he does. Challenging yet again on the outside, and you can see that I'm trying to leave him room. And let's see where he's at. I'm getting obviously a little twitchy about it. And here he comes to challenge at the chicane. And we'll see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and let him by. He's basically gotten the better of me here. And now here comes the Corvette. P3. Oh, actually, excuse me, the white car's there too. So once again, the top 4 cars all bunched up here as we head around the last hairpin, having a look at the Ferrari and not going to be able to get around him. And now you can see this is where I struggle. So this is not the situation that I want to be in if this was, for example, lap 5. And lose out P2 just like that on the straights, but let's see if I can get some of that back here at the end of turn 1. And AI very slow through there, able to swing around and not going to be able to make any kind of a maneuver there, but I should have some opportunities here coming up as long as I can keep it on the rails. And having a go at the P3 car on the outside, but you can see that I get a little too aggressive there and almost have myself in off, but fortunately I'm able to straighten myself out. And now catching back up with the field, heading into this little right-handed corner that got me into trouble on the last lap where the field was able to catch up with me. And you can see that I'm able to get a little bit closer, but as soon as we hit these straights, they're going to go ahead and pull away. And my hope is to catch up with them and make them some ground at the hairpin. I should be able to maybe get around the P3 car, but we'll have to see what happens here depending on my speed coming around here. And pushing, accelerating out of the corner, and yes, able to get back up into P3. So now chasing the P2 and P1 cars. And this is where the Ferrari had the off at the last lap. Oh, God, there he goes again. Unbelievable. Just as I start to mention the problems that he was having, something tells me that maybe that guy should not be behind the wheel of a car, at least not an expensive one. So now it's just me and the Corvette heading up into the very, very fast sweeping left-hander, and the AI slows down significantly, so able to get around him easily there. And so this is giving me some confidence that if I get into trouble on lap 5, I should have some chances to get back ahead. But you can see that the field is right up with me. Well, not necessarily the whole field. Basically the 3 cars that we've been racing with the entire race, and you can see I go way too wide there. And that's basically a that could be a killer. Let's see if that's at least going to allow the AI to stick with me big time heading into the very fast bend here. The Corvette's going to go ahead and challenge on the inside and backs off significantly. I'm not sure why the AI is so slow through there. You can pretty much take that little bend there flat out. And so the AI not able to exploit my off earlier at turn 6, which can throw you off sometimes. Sometimes it sneaks up on me. And now we're going to go ahead and get around to the main straight, and this is it, last lap. So let's see if I'm able to. Looks like I have the pace to stay ahead of the AI into turn 1. And if that's true, I should have no problem keeping ahead of them. But of course, every time I think that, I manage to make a small mistake. And now the Corvette is screaming up from P2. And I lose my focus and go way wide. So just as I start to think about, you know, breaking open bottles of champagne, I make a significant mistake. That's probably my worst mistake of the race so far, and that's going to keep these 3 cars right up with me. In fact, I've got a strong feeling that they'll be able to pass me on some of these straights, and you can see I'm feeling the pressure now, and this does not bode well. AI seems to be pretty slow, fortunately for me, coming through there, so right now not too much of a threat, but this is where their pace gets very, very strong, and I want to make sure that I stay ahead of them. Corvette looking on the inside, but he decides to back off, and this is where it's just so easy to make a mistake, so easy to get too aggressive, and that's basically what I think was happening heading into turn 1. Is all of a sudden I realized, hey, wait a second, I'm not out of the woods yet. Next thing I knew, I was staring at gravel, and look at this. Now the P2 car, and he backs off, but he was definitely had the pace to get around me, and there's a huge off, and I drift around, and now collision with the Ferrari. Oh geez, so this is a complete disaster at this point. I still have the Corvette in my sights, unless the AI does what it usually does. Oh, and it does. AI basically just hands the lead right back to me. That's disappointing. I was actually hoping that they would stay online and I would pass him on my, own accord, but unfortunately Forza, especially on medium, that's one of my biggest frustrations with this difficulty level, is that they have way too many offs, especially when you're in second position on the last lap. It seems to be kind of prevalent, so I would love for turn 10 to patch that and basically make it stop doing that. I don't mind if it happens once in a while, but pretty much happens every race, and I think it's happened 3 times in this race in particular, so. And wouldn't you know it, heading into the last chicane, we finally get our first perfect turn of the race. Better late than never, I guess. And if it wasn't totally obvious... Oh, there's another one, so not bad. If it wasn't totally obvious, I don't know the racing lines that well. I just sort of follow the grease marks and watch the corners, and you can see I'm able to keep it on line, and the AI is not going to have a chance to pass me. So a little nail-biting there for sure, but the Tesla Roadster gets the job done. So interesting car. Really interesting car. Because of how twitchy the handling is, I have to wonder what it would be like on other tracks, so I might have to give it another go. I'm sure I will at some point, so gonna go ahead and leave you guys with some race highlights. I want to thank you guys for coming along on this ride with me. I hope you enjoyed it. I do have a couple more Forza videos with commentary, but also have a number of gameplay videos from Forza 4, including a lot of Porsche gameplay without commentary if you have any interest in that. And also, if you're a fan of F1 2011, I have a commentary series called I Am No Expert. Be sure to check my playlists if you want to get any details on that. So, thanks again for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time.